longs, I'm pretty disappointed. And I think anytime you look at your portfolio and you ask yourself, why am I not making more money? Basically, it's usually what I found in my history as a professional and private investor is that it's almost always that you're not looking at enough stocks and you're spending too much time looking at the same old stocks or not enough time looking at new stocks. And you can see I never heard of this company, and it had a great clinical trial result. I'm not sure I believe the result, by the way, but it's tripled just in the last few weeks. And you could have bought it, interestingly, you kind of could have bought it after the results came out. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, so you see the results. Oops, I messed up. You can see that the results came out. You obviously, if you wanted to buy it before, like here, you had to be super prescient and know the data was coming and know it was going to be good. But what's amazing is if you're really quick on the trigger finger, and I know some people who are super good at this. They wake up early. They maybe drink more coffee than I do, and you can see the stock was 17 before the results. The results come out, and already you can buy this. You don't have to pay. Now it's 45. At 16, 17, you don't want to take the risk, roll the dice before the trial results. But after the trial results, you can see that you could have bought this thing for $29 or so dollars. And here you had the whole day to buy it at $30. And I knew about this. I didn't buy it. I didn't know about it here, but I could have bought it here. The results come out at midnight, so you often, or 6 a.m. So by the time it's 6 a.m., you read the results, you're ready, and by the time liquidity starts to form in the marketplace, it can be as early as 6:30, 7 a.m., and a lot of traders are still waking up, or they're still just trying to figure out the news that happened. So there's some people who are super quick on the trigger. They can buy in the 20s, and by the time it's 30 or so, they're more comfortable with it. And then of course, here it is in the 40s, and of course, so basically all I'm saying is laziness and mental lapses will get in the way of great returns. And if you ask yourself, why are my returns not high enough? Well, it's probably because you're not working hard enough. Here's another company that is super interesting. I probably would have been interested in buying this whole company, and it was just bought out the other day. Who knows, maybe I'll compete and put in a bid of my own. But it looks like really good assets, and they're being bought for only $80 million. So you got two stocks that more than doubled this month, and I am disappointed in myself for not being involved in them. I could have been, I should have been, but coulda, woulda, shoulda is 3 words that prevent you from success. And here's a whole list of more stocks that were up 30% in the year. And 30% is an enormous amount. If you can find just one stock every year that's up 20% in the month, I don't need to tell you what kind of return that is, but let me tell you anyway. Say 20%, right? For 12 months, you will make 800% returns. So $100,000 would become almost $1 million, right? Something like that. Just about $1 million. So if you were smart enough to somehow do that, nobody's that good. But it shows you that you don't need a stock to go up 8x. If a stock goes up, you might say, would you rather have one stock go up 8x over the course of the year? Well, there are not many that do that. But if you can find one that goes up 20% every month, I did it here Sangamo, but Sangamo wasn't the only stock I owned because I got to sort of diversify. So obviously it's very hard to get great returns, but sometimes you have to know that math to sort of think about investing. So Sangamo was up 24%. We'll talk about that in a second. Weibo is a social media company in China that I'm short. It was up 25%. I'm short a very little amount, just so I learned the space a little bit more. But I noticed that stock did really well. So anyway, current opinions. I didn't add anything to this list, I don't think, but I actually do have a couple of additions. So let me just scan my list here, and I'll tell you just mentally some of the ones that I thought were really interesting. I started looking at this company, and I'm very, very early on it, but it's I looked at a couple. This one didn't excite me very much, called AI Immune, or A-Immune. That wasn't too exciting, but I looked at this one called Xenon. Did I look at Xenon? No. I looked at... The name might be very, very similar, I think. Let me take a look. It's roughly... Zencor. There it is, Zencor. I thought Zencor looked really interesting. It started with an X. So Zencor seemed pretty cheap to me. That's the only one I'd say I found for the week that was super interesting. Yeah, I'd say that's it. I have some stuff that I'm looking at that I can't talk about, but that's one I'm willing to talk about. Oh, and I guess Taisho, which I'll talk about in a second. I bought some Taisho stock. And I no longer think Sihuan is overvalued. So we'll talk about that in a second. I'm also getting out of Neurotrope. Even though that's still overvalued, I'm going to get out of it. Okay, so here's the portfolio. I added a couple positions. I shorted Comcast. Again, I'm trying to spend more time in tech. I shorted Comcast because it's extremely expensive. I calculated, I think it's 26 times earnings. It's a no-growth business. In fact, I would argue that it's a shrinking business, given the internet cable is sort of being dismantled by Netflix and other technologies. So I'm pretty bearish on that. The content is obviously very valuable, but it's primarily still a cable company. And I bought some Taisho, which is a Japanese consumer products company, and I actually have some of their major product here called it's a Lipovitan, and I'm actually gonna do a taste test. I heard it's disgusting, but it's a really interesting stock. I really hope that it's not that disgusting. But anyway, let's go through the positions a little bit. Gilead has been doing well. I still like it. Just as the new HIV product sort of takes over and replaces the old HIV products. So we'll sort of see how Gilead does. And maybe Hep C will live a little bit longer than people think. Regeneron, lots of interesting assets here, but obviously like everyone else, I like it for Dupixent. And we'll kind of see what happens. Avexis is getting a lot of love, hit 52-week highs. Might make sense to start thinking about trimming it, but I also think they're going to get acquired. So we'll see if they get acquired by a bigger company. But it's a great fit for anyone who wants to be in rare diseases, which isn't so many folks. But anyway, the hemophilia companies are all doing fine. Spark is hitting new highs every day. So Sangamo's doing pretty well too. GSK, again, I have to think about whether I want to make this a 4 or 5% position. I think I do. Taisho is an $8 billion company, but they have $6 billion in cash, and you often find this in Japan. So